So I guess this is how we're doing the January wrap up. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Lily and this is Lily in the Library. And this is Calcifer, in case you guys haven't seen him yet. He is adorable. He is our new kitten that we have. We also have another cat. Her name is Mochi, and she is a little bit more antisocial than Calcifer. Anyway, today I have my January wrap up for you guys. Sorry, I'm coming to you pretty late, and also mostly like the way you see me in vlogs. I've just been putting this video off and I just need to get it filmed already, but I don't have the energy or morale to put on a ton of makeup or look cute in an outfit or do my hair. So I hope you guys don't mind. I really just want to get through my January reads and tell you guys about the books that I have loved. As I've said in previous wrap-ups, I'm not sure what my aesthetic, what my style is yet. I'm just kind of seeing what things I want to report on and what things I enjoy talking to you guys about, and also what things you guys are curious about. Obviously, I still have a very new channel. My subscribers are under 100, so it's not a ton of information to go on just yet. And I am just trying to decide what to do as my channel grows. So let's get into some quick stats before I get into the books I read this month. I read a total of 19 books. I had no DNFs this month. I ended up reading just over 4,000 pages this month, 4,098 pages, which breaks down to about 132 pages a day, which is really great. I was super happy. To be honest, I didn't even realize I had read so many books. I definitely thought it was less, and I have not even updated my Instagram account yet. I am super thrilled that I was able to get so many books read in the month of January. For my ratings breakdown, I had 3 5-star reads and 8 4-stars, as well as 7 3-stars and 1 2-star read. So I did make a comment in my reading vlog, which was probably live before this. I just kind of felt like I was reading mediocre books this month. So I'm hoping that in February I will have more books that I'm thrilled about. So I'm just going to go in the order that I read them as per usual. You got something to say? My first finished read of 2025 and my first read of the month was actually To Sir Philip with Love by Julia Quinn. Now, I had been reading this for the last 2 or 3 months because I believe I started it in November. With these Bridgerton books, it usually does take me at least a month, if not longer, simply because I'm not in a rush to finish them. These are books that I like to dip in and out of and just, read when I need a break from something else. I'm having a really great time with this series. I do like it a lot more than I enjoyed the Netflix adaptation. Unfortunately, I did not love seasons 2 and 3. I mean, they were okay, but that's for another video. But so far, I am really loving this series. To Sir Philip with Love did get a 4-star with me. I absolutely loved how we got to explore Eloise and how quirky she is and just her relationship. And I'm so glad and grateful that we were able to see her not only fall in love, but to see someone else fall in love with her. And my second read of the month was Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. Many of you have heard me speak about this book time and time again, both on YouTube and on Instagram, so it should be no surprise that this is a 5-star read. I did not get to reread it just yet, but I want to reread it and annotate it because I loved this book. There were so many points where I was laughing, kicking my feet, just enjoying and absolutely loving the romance, the darkness. I loved everything about this book, and I have nothing bad to say about it. Nothing that I can even think of. It was long and I didn't even realize how long it was. And I didn't care. I did not want to stop reading this book. I didn't want to put it down. I got about 2 or 3 chapters in and immediately ordered the physical copy. And then when I finished it, I pre ordered the copy that comes out later this year from Barnes and Noble. So I'm in love with this book and I cannot wait for our Caught Up to come out later this year. Next up, I read Hum by Helen Phillips, and this was a 3-star for me. It could have been a 4-star, but the ending really killed it for me. It does one of those things where it's like, it was all a dream, it was all in your imagination. That didn't really happen. And I don't love endings like that, especially because of what was going on throughout the book. I don't know. For me, it's like the writing was good. I did find some common ground with May, who is our main character, but then just towards the end of the book and the actual ending of the book, I did not love. And so for me, it had to be a 3-star. And then I read Last One to Die by Cynthia Murray. This was another 3-star. It was a thriller. I had really high hopes for this one. The premise sounded really intriguing. And even in the beginning, I was kind of hooked because we basically start out within the first 2 or 3 chapters of somebody dying. Our main character arrives at her lodging for this like internship, and one of the girls has a fear of heights, so they switch rooms, and that girl dies the next day or is dead the next day. I don't think it's a spoiler because, like I said, it happens right in the very beginning, and it's one of many deaths. Now, with that kicking off, I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is, there was a suspense and like a mystery. There are so many points in this book that are built up and suspenseful and kind of creepy and weird and really making you feel a way. But I feel as though every time the book does that, it is just a letdown when you get to whatever is causing these feelings or like whatever the mystery is. Like the ending of the book was so lackluster. Uh honestly, this is more like a 2.5 or 2.75, but I just gave it a 3 and I just want to move on and really not have to talk about this book ever again. Then I read Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, and again, another 3-star. And this one is more so my fault because I've talked about this before. I don't necessarily love reading synopses, and this is where it really bit me in the ass for not reading it because I probably would have gleaned a better understanding of what the book was about, but also who knows. Um, I didn't think that the story was going to be quite so literal, and it definitely was about a woman who works at a convenience store. And I also don't love slice of life books, and I really felt like that was this. We were more so focused on the main character and what's going on in her life rather than any kind of outlined plot or any kind of action because there really isn't anything happening. There are a few very bizarre points in this book. For example, this guy that she works with who ends up like randomly leaving moves in with her and he lives in her bathroom. It's weird. It's weird. It's just weird. And there were some points that really made me laugh, but I just couldn't get over the fact that we were really doing a book about a woman who's basically obsessed with working at a convenience store. Then I have We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Berkowitz. I gave this one 2 stars because I feel like it wasted my time and it pissed me off more than any other book I read this month. It is the only 2-star that I gave out this month. And honestly, this could even be a 1-star, but I didn't want to be quite that harsh. I don't know why. I kept hoping that this book would go somewhere. I had such high hopes because first of all, the cover was, you guys know how I am with covers. Okay, I'm sorry. I judge books based on their cover. I get my hopes up based on the cover. Like, yes, a cover will empower me to read a book 9 times out of 10. And this was that. I had seen it floating around on the internet quite a few times before, and the cover had always intrigued me. When I looked at it, it was available on Libby. I think it was about it was either 5 or 7 hours to listen to it So I took a gamble. And throughout the whole story, I'm just waiting for anything to happen. And I feel like nothing ever did. And that's not to say that there wasn't anything going on in the book. There was, but I just didn't care. Nothing about the story was interesting, even though we are basically following someone who works for something akin to Instagram. She is reviewing posts and like taking down posts that don't meet the community guidelines, stuff like that. And the whole time she's telling a story, and it makes you think that we're going to lead up to this big ordeal. And I mean, I guess in whoever thought that this was a good idea to publish, it was a big ordeal for them. But it just left me thinking, why was this published? Like, why? I don't know. It just. I feel like the title was a little bit misleading because, yes, they are removing posts, okay, but it just made it feel like this was going to be a post or like something along those lines that's really crazy and like outlandish and causing controversy. And it just wasn't that. It was nothing like I had hoped it would be. And I just ended up being really mad that I wasted my time on this book. And I did read a couple of arcs this month. So, one of the first arcs I read was A Guide to Fake Dating Your Enemy by Nikki Bright. And I really enjoyed this one. I gave it a 4 star, and it was just a nice, like, reprieve from these mediocre and waste of time books that I had been reading. It was really cute, really sweet, it had winter vibes. I would also say this was a little bit Christmassy, but not so much that I feel like you should like only read it during Christmas time, if that makes any sense. It was really good. It was really cute and sweet, and the characters are the longer you spend with them, the more time you get to know them, and you really find what's going on in their lives. And there's a lot of misunderstandings that have caused them to not like each other. And it's just, I don't know, it's just really sweet. I really enjoyed it. And then I read The Ice Out by Mina Miles, which again was an arc, and I gave it 4 stars. And this one was so cute. There is a good bit of spicy scenes, which what I feel was done really well. Um, it's a second chance. I think technically it's a second chance romance. They are childhood friends. I don't know. This one, I liked this one just a little bit more than Fake Dating Your Enemy. So I think really this is like a 4.5. Like it's almost a 5, but it's just, I don't, it's just not giving me the 5 star energy that I wanted. But this one was really good. I think they did date at one point, and like they broke up because he wasn't ready to be in a relationship or something like that. He's an ex pro hockey player, and she is, I forget what exactly she's doing, but she's got like a new job as like a research assistant. She's doing something in like the education field. And I can't remember if she's like a researcher or a lab or something. Anyway, she's trying to do this shit and get like a grant. And she has her own trials and tribulations that happens at her job, as does he. But honestly, for me, that stuff is, even though in the book it's main parts of the plot, for me, the main focus is the romance. And I just love how they come back together after all this time and just, I don't know, it really warmed my heart. I really liked this one. Then I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. And I think even in my vlog, I said this is one of those books that's like, what did I just read? Because really, what did I read? This was another weird one, and I love weird books. I really enjoyed the storytelling from Mary Cat's point of view. I don't know if that's really what did it for me. There's practically nothing happening in this story, but we are being told what's going on, or at least part of what's going on by Mary Cat. So we open the story up, and it's her older sister Constance, her uncle Julian, and the cat Jonas. And that's the only surviving members of the family after this tragedy happens. The town hates them, and that becomes very apparent as the book goes on. We have a mysterious cousin Charles showing up. It's very weird. Also, Mary Cat does a lot of weird stuff. So this one, it's like, it's one of those books that there is no point, I feel. You're just kind of there for the ride, and I was definitely there for the ride. I also do know that this has an adaptation on Netflix, and this is another one that I really am curious about, so I can't wait to watch that later on. Then I have 3 more arcs that I read this month back to back. 2 of them are part of a series. They are, I guess you would call it a duology. I wouldn't recommend reading the second book unless you've read the first book, and that is Peppermint Wishes and Starry Night Kisses by D.L. Darby. Now, Peppermint Wishes is the first book in this duology or series. And both books follow the same female character. In the first book, it is very much Christmas vibes. Stuff is happening on Christmas, and then we end on New Year's. And the second book picks up literally right where the first book leaves off and continues on. So I really enjoyed the first book. Both of these were 4 stars for me, but the first book really was very emotional. I love that book so much. I need to buy a physical copy of it. It was so heartbreaking. Like, when a book can make you cry, I have said this so many times. At minimum, it's getting a 4 star. The only reason why I didn't give this one 5 stars is because, one, I really hated what happened. Like, I get it. I understand why the author went this route, and it completely makes sense for the story. And honestly, it's more of it is a feel good ending in that aspect, but I just didn't want it to go that way. So, but at the same time, I get it. And I also didn't give it 5 stars because in the beginning, our 2 main characters, the way the guy reacts to her just like right off the bat just seemed very forced and unnatural. I can't imagine having that kind of interaction with someone and them acting like that. That was my only real critique of this book, but the little Christmas magic that happens, just, this is such a good Christmas book. Okay, it if you want to cry your friggin' eyes out, read this book. It was so good. And then Starry Night Kisses picks up right where Peppermint Wishes leaves off, and it just continues to follow our same main character. So again, if you haven't read Peppermint Wishes, Starry Night Kisses, we'll kind of spoil that for you. So I definitely would read these in order, but they are quick little novellas, so it's not like it's going to take you a ton of time to read Peppermint Wishes, and trust me, you want to read these books. Then I read Wistful Whispers by Danny Elias. This was good. There was a bit of danger thrown in there, some spice, some like, it's not really a he falls first, but it's like they both have feelings for each other and they don't realize it. Like, they both don't think the other one is into them, especially our male main character. And when they finally like figure it out and click, also I think there is like accidental pregnancy in this one. If that triggers you or you don't want to read about that, go ahead and give this one a skip, because that is kind of like the main situation that like kicks this whole story off. It was really good though. I really did enjoy the male main character and like just how he is with her, how protective he is. Like, that's my thing. So, and I don't really care about pregnancy or unplanned or otherwise. Like, it doesn't really bother me to read books with kids, read books about pregnancy. I don't really care one way or the other. As long as it's not like horrific and horrifying, I don't really care. I did give this one 4 stars as well. Then I read my first Nicola Sanders book, and I loved this book. It's Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders, and I gave it 5 stars. This was such an easy 5 stars for me. Like, at first, I was a little worried because the first quarter of the book is, we're just setting the stage here. I mean, aside from the prologue really like grabs you in. But those first chapters after the prologue, it's just a lot of setup. It's a lot of getting introduced to the characters and like laying the groundwork. And it is slow and a little bit boring at times. But once stuff starts kicking off, when I tell you I didn't want to stop reading this book, I gave it 5 stars because it's that freaking addictive. And on top of that, and I said this in my vlog too, this one is one of those books where it's like you think you know, especially because especially when you've read a lot of thrillers and you kind of feel, you can guess a lot of things. You've either watched a lot of horror movies, scary movies, psychological movies, or you've read books or a combination of the two. And it's like, okay, I see where you're going with this. This is so predictable. No, at least not for me. I was so thrown off by so many things, and nothing that was done in this book was like just a throwaway situation. Like everything had a purpose. There was a reason for everything. And everything was tied back into the main plot. There weren't any situations that were literally just red herrings. Like, yes, they may have been red herrings, but here's why. Here's how it pertained to the plot, how it furthered what the actual story going on was. This book was so freaking crazy. This was the first of 2 Nicola Sanders books I read this month. She only has 3, and you better believe I'm going to be reading the 3rd one ASAP as soon as I get caught up on reading. But oh my God, I absolutely loved this book. Like, I can't, please go read this. If you take nothing else from this video, please go and read Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders. The last line of the book, oh my God, thinking about it now still gives me chills, still creeps me the F out. Oh my God. Then, like a complete different type of book going on here, total change up. I read Welcome to the Hyunamdong Bookshop by Hwang Bo Ryeom. I think that's how the name is pronounced. I am so sorry if it's not. I gave this 4 stars, which no one is more surprised than I am that I loved a slice of life book. Now, it's not unheard of. Okay, I have given a slice of life book 5 stars in the past. If you remember Love Letters to the Dead, I absolutely adore that book. Loved it. It is definitely what I would consider slice of life, because we are literally just going through this girl's life for an entire year through letters that she is writing to dead celebrities. What could be more slice of life than that? There's not really anything going on aside from the events of her daily life. That is the only slice of life book I have truly enjoyed up until now. Usually I give them 3 stars or lower. I loved this book so much. It was slow. There were boring moments. Obviously it's not a 5-star. And I did feel like I could put it down. I could read another book. But I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed it on multiple levels, okay? I enjoyed it more than just entertainment and reading, and I love when I can enjoy a book in this way, where it's more than just contributing to entertaining me. There's food for thought here. There are moments where you can really reflect on your own life and think about these things that our characters are saying and discussing, like the topics of work and how people are valued in our society, how people are pushed to do things that they may not necessarily want to do because they need to survive, or they want to impress people or look good in society or make their parents proud, and we have constructed what a normal life looks like, what a normal person does, and how society looks down on those that do not live, at minimum, a normal life, and how it looks down on people who have a mundane life. And just there was a lot of discussion around work, a lot of discussion around the value of life. I believe one of the things our main character says is you only have one life and you're living it right now. This is a book that I definitely want to get the physical copy of, and I would love to go back and reread it when I have some time and annotate a lot of the beautiful quotes that I have listened to. But I won't be getting this one until I can get it secondhand, because I loved it, but I didn't love it enough to buy a brand new copy, if that makes any sense. I'm okay if this is a secondhand copy. And now we are back to some mediocre reads, or just some reads that I did not love, starting with Woodworm by Layla Martinez. I had high hopes for this one. I had really hoped that it was going to be like creepy, and especially because like within the first, I think, 4 pages, like the first chapter, there was something that happened that just made me laugh uncontrollably. Something about praying mantises, and Oh my God, it was crazy. But this story honestly felt like it just meandered and kind of being told the same story, but also two different stories by two different people. I get that, but I feel like this could have been shorter. I don't know. It just seemed to meander on for way too long and it was very pointless. It's all wrapped up at the end to where like the beginning of the story makes sense at the end. But there's so much happening in between those 2 points that could have either been cut out, shortened, anything. And that would have made this a lot better. Like for as short as this already was, it just seemed to go on. And it's never a good sign to me when a very short book seems to go on forever. For example, this is like a novella basically. It's a 5 hour listen in comparison to Lights Out, which is a 14-hour listen. And it seemed longer than Lights Out. So that's all I can say. It's never a good sign when that's the feeling. Then I read Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw, and I think I'm gonna call it with Cassandra Khaw because it's the second book that I read. I mean, granted, I did finish this one at least. The other one that I read by her, I didn't even finish. I DNF'd it, and it was just as short. Again, I don't know how these people make I'm listening to it on 1.75 or 2 times speed, and it's still so long. Please explain it to me. This one, it's supposed to be Asian horror, and I mean, it was that, but also I could have done without reading this. Like, I don't hate it, but I didn't love it. I didn't really care when I finished reading it. I was like, okay, next. Then very disappointing, We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Now I did read this one as well as Hum for Kayla's Buzzwordathon challenges this month. And I did discuss that in my vlog. I went in really deep with We Were Liars on why I did not like it. So I will just sum it up to say I do not like when we're using this comparison to invalidate people's struggles. There's always going to be someone in this world that has a worse life than you. That is just life. There's always going to be someone who doesn't have the same options, doesn't have the same standing, doesn't live in the same country, so is already, negated certain things that you have access to. That's life. But what we're not going to do, especially when someone has suffered a tragic accident, has been injured, has mental issues because of it, we're not going to say, oh, you should be grateful for what's going on. It could be worse. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. I'm over that. Stop. Okay? And I hate when that happens in real life, but I especially hate it in a book. And the other thing I hated about this book was the narrator was unreliable, but in a way that it was just like, how are we supposed to get that? How were we as the reader supposed to figure that out? Yeah. So I don't like that either. I gave this one 3 stars, and I'm thinking more and more every day maybe it should be 2 stars. And then thankfully Nicola Sanders came in and saved the day again with All the Lies, which was another 5-star read. And it was so good. Oh my God. At first I thought it wasn't going to be 5 stars. I really did. I was like, maybe Don't Let Her Stay is a one-time deal. No. I should not have doubted her. Oh my God. This was even crazier than the other one. Like, I feel like Don't Let Her Stay, the reveals, the twists were crazy, but this one, just the freaking story was outrageously crazy. And also, there's a lot of domestic abuse and like adoption going on in this story. I will say that the domestic abuse scenes, especially, were very difficult to read because it was so real. You know, it was so real, but it was so relatable. It was so, I don't know, the way she did it. Either she's a domestic abuse survivor or she really did her research, because I'm telling you, these are literal things that people go through. I'm telling you. And so that was very triggering for me. Just that in and of itself was so amazing and so crazy to read. But oh my gosh, it was so good. And then unfortunately, we kind of ended the month on a bummer. And it was like a double bummer because not only was it a 3-star, but it was a Lisa Jewell. And I was just so disappointed in this one. I ended the month with The Girls in the Garden by Lisa Jewell, and I just didn't love it. It was a 3-star. And this was one that, like, not only was it slow and it kind of felt like it took forever, but there were things that were literally just situations to throw us off of what was really going on. The ending is not really concrete, it's more so alluded to. Like, we never get any real answers, and the answers that we do get are just kind of like, why was this even a mystery? Like, come on. Also, there is a whole ass mystery that we don't get any information on, anything more than we already knew at the start, basically, of like when we find out this is even a thing. So I didn't love that at all. So that is going to do it for me today, guys. That's all the books I read in January and my thoughts on them. I would love to know what your feelings about these books are. Have you read them? What did you read in January? And how was your January reading month? If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing for more content from me. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.